Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I am having an absolute blast doing these isolated vocal tracks of taking the most epic, legendary songs of all time and getting to listen to the intimate details of a soloed, raw, naked vocal track from some of the songs we all grew up on and have just the most iconic, legendary songs of all time. So next up is Motley Crue. The song is called Dr. Feelgood. Now, you guys probably all know this one. I've done a version of this. Now, I'll put that in the description. You can see how I did the version of this song. I also did Kickstart My Heart, and I'm going to put that in here. In fact, it released today just on YouTube, so you can tell when this video was made. But anyway, I'll put that in the description also. You can see how I did. Now, I sing it quite a bit differently than Vince Neil because I have a very different voice, though I did try to capture some of his nuance, but still sound like myself, okay? With that said, guys, if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be really cool. And I have a singing course. The course is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else, and you can find it right here at KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com. I also have a singers forum over there with over 20,000 singers, all discussing all these amazing artists, Sebastian Bach, you name it, Freddie Mercury, and all the greats on how they got great in hopes to help make you great at singing, okay? So I just want to dive right in. I've not listened to this, but I'm assuming it's pretty cool. And like I said, it's just amazing that we can have the original track to this stuff to scrutinize and put under a microscope or a magnifying glass and then discuss it and see how we got to all these different cool vocal places. So with that said, let's rock. Here we go. First off, I didn't even know that was there, so I guess that's at the very beginning of the song. Maybe I should have known that. All you Motley Crue fans are going to go, shame on you. You should have known that was the very first line, but this is my first line. Here we go.
Rap till Jimmy's a second-hand hood, deals out in Hollywood. Got a 65 Chevy, private flames, traded on a pile of goods.
Okay, so I want to start there. Okay, now a few things is Vince notoriously sings like from here. I mean, Right till Jimmy's in the second hand, deals out in Hollywood. Got a 57 Chevy, private flames, traded for the pound of goods, right? So he's really well known for not enunciating his vocals that much, so you can hardly tell what he's saying. And he's just really way up in here in the head. He's got a real compressed sound. Also, if you listen closely, they at least double tracked, if not triple tracked the vocal to try to make it sound a little bit bigger because he has a really small voice, and they use a lot of effect on his voice. But most of the stuff, like especially the later Motley Crue stuff, was produced amazingly well, right? And so a lot of the energy and what for is made up from, Nikki Sixx, Mick Mars, you got some really, it's kind of funny. When I think of Motley Crue, I think of how underrated Nikki Sixx's songwriting is, because he's I shouldn't even say that. Nikki Sixx is a really good songwriter, and so some of the songwriting is really underrated, but maybe not, because it has had a lot of success. But I don't think a lot of the 80s metal guys took it as seriously in its day, and yet it's withstood the test of time. In fact, one of my clients is Kat Von D, and she was engaged to Nikki for quite a while, and Nikki's one hard-working dude, and he's come a long way, and I believe he's still sober, and he's out there mentoring kids in LA. He gets in this van and he drives to LA and picks up these kids and, has this really cool mentorship program. So they've come a long way in their craft, and I just want to give him kudos and a shout out for that. And then, of course, Tommy Lee is just a phenomenal drummer. And so, you've got this triage of musicians really holding down the line and making big sounds for Nikki to be able to kind of still stay small in his sound and have the whole band still sound big, okay? Let's listen to this one more time. I want you to listen to all the effect, the triple tracking of the vocals and so forth. Check it out.
Rap till Jimmy's a second-hand hood, deals out in Hollywood. Got a 65 Chevy, private flames, traded on a pile of goods.
Now, let me show you something. So, if I go, rap till Jimmy's a second-hand hood, deals out in Hollywood. Got a 65 Chevy, private flames, traded for some pound of goods, right? That's kind of about how he sings. It looks like that, sounds like that. It's about, about that much power and authority into the sound. But I want to show you something. I don't want to turn my back to you guys a bunch of times, but I want to show you something. I want to add some effect and sing it exactly the same way for a second to show you how much, and I'm not even going to double track it or do all my magic like I've done in some of these other videos. I want to show you how much difference that makes. So check this out. Hold on. Okay, I'm just going to put a bit of everything on here. Bear with me, hang in there. So, check this out. Now I suspect suspect, that he had more reverb on the original. So, but let me just do this. Here we go. All right, tell Jimmy is a second-hand deals out of Hollywood. Got a 65 Chevy down in flames, trading for some powdered goods, right? What? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Rat Tail Jimmy is a second-hand deals out of Hollywood. Got a 65 Chevy, driving flames, trading for some powdered goods. You hear the difference? There's a big difference, and sorry to turn my back on you like that, but I think I'm gonna buy a camera and like have it focused on the front, so when I do that, at least you'll get to see what I'm doing. But with that said, so I wanted to make sure that everything's off here. Hold on. As all the delays. Sorry about that. I had a feeling because I kept going. Let's do this again. So, all right, till Jimmy is a second-hand deals out of Hollywood. Got a 65 Chevy, private flames, traded for some powdered goods, right? So, if you notice with no effect, it sounds quite a bit different than when I had effect, right? Now, the reason I bring this up is because a lot of times we listen to a track in its original, in our minds, we blow things up way bigger than they really are. So we think of something as just being big or monstrous or crazy, and sometimes it is, but a lot of times if you really listen to the track, it doesn't have quite the that you think it does. And so when we're trying to replicate this or duplicate this as a singer, we find that we oversing or overdo things in the name of thinking that we're matching an original artist, okay? Very important. Now that's kind of not true for growl and scream. Some of those guys are like, you know, you practically see them spitting up blood. But anyway, so let's continue. So I'm gonna go from here.
Rap till Jimmy is a second-hand hood, deals out in Hollywood. Got a 65 Chevy, private flames, traded for some powdered goods. G-side Jimmy, he's a one of the gang, I hear he's doing okay.
Now, did you hear the cut? G-side Simon is a one of the gang, but I hear he's doing okay. You can clearly hear an edit, right? And one track goes underneath and the other track comes on top. So I never knew that in the original, that wasn't a contiguous line. I just thought he just sang it. But I also remembered thinking to myself when I went to do this song, because I've never heard this solo vocal. So I did the song first, the one that's in the description you guys can check out. And I just did these long lines going, wow, the guy's got a lot of lung capacity to be able to sing these really long lines and it not be edited, but bingo, all of a sudden, check it out, listen to it again.
G-side Jimmy, he's a one of the gang, I hear he's doing okay.
Hear that?
Got a cozy little job, just a Mexican mom, package is a candy cane. He's the one that called Dr. Feelgood.
Now, when you hear like whether it's Kickstart My Heart or Dr. Feel, he's the one that called Dr. Feelgood. You know, it's real small, but he's the one that called Dr. Feelgood. You know, in the word feel good, there's this giant gang vocal, maybe like a Bon Jovi song or even a Whitesnake. Man, Whitesnake didn't use so much background vocals, but you know, like a Bon Jovi song or some real anthemic Def Leppard song. There's this huge background thing. Now, I'm doing a lot of these, and I did Def Leppard. I'm not sure when these are going to release, but you're going to hear too. Joe Elliott is pretty small on the sound a lot of the time. So is John Bon Jovi's pretty small, except for when he does Living on a Prayer. That's the one I did a vocal stem to. When he sings the end chorus, he's kicking major butt. He did an awesome job. So I'm not diminishing or taking away from their talents, but they're not as big as you think they are. It's a lot of his production really helps it far along. So anyway, you hear all the double tracking, you hear all the effect on the vocals and so forth. And when you take that away, it's a pretty small sound.
He's the one that makes it feel alright. He's the one that calls Dr. Feelgood.
He's gonna be your Frankenstein.
Cops on the corner, I was ignore somebody getting paid. Jimmy's got wide laws for high, got a maid in the shade. Got a little hideaway, does business all day, but not here lost and found.
In my version, you can actually make out the lyrics, and I'm actually one for under-enunciating stuff because it's easier to sing, but this is so under-enunciated, I can't really make it out. Now, I could probably go back and remember what the vocals are, but I do want to say another thing in defense of Vince, is this stuff's pretty high, and it's not that easy to sing, so you're kind of sitting in, sporting A's and B's and kind of everything in between. So the stuff is pretty high. It's not that easy to sing, so I don't want to make you guys think for a minute that, oh gosh, I didn't want to just walk in and do this stuff. It's kind of tough, and try it, give it a try and see what I'm saying. But again, I want you to really focus on how small his sound is, so you don't think you have to drag up all of this big, round, girthy sound to try to match the vocals, okay?
Self-sugar to the sweet people on the street, call this Jimmy's town. He's the one that calls Dr. Feelgood. He's the one that makes it feel alright.
Now, again, another thing that's difficult about a lot of the Motley Crue songs, especially these ones, when I talked about run-on sentences, I want to back this up, is I want you to sit there for a minute with me, and I won't get all the lyrics right. I probably should have printed them so I could read them and at least do it some justice and not shame myself for not knowing the lyrics. But let me back this up, and I want you to see how run-on these sentences are and how difficult this would be to do live, running around on a stage. Check this out.
He's the one that calls Dr. Feelgood. He's the one that makes you feel alright. He's the one
that's fairly okay.
He's gonna be your Frankenstein. I've got one thing you'll understand. Dr. Feelgood. He's not
Now,
what you
if you're just going, I got one thing you'll understand, Dr. Feelgood. If you had to do the Dr. Feelgood parts, that would be pretty tough to do that and the other vocals. Let me back this even farther back because I want you to see something else.
G-side Jimmy, he's a one of the gang. He's doing okay.
So, G-side Jimmy is a one of a gang, but again, he's doing okay. Cause the vintage stuff for the Mexican mob is a candy cane. Right. Right? You don't even get the breath in the middle. You got to go, G-side Jimmy is a running a gang, but again, he's doing okay. Cause this is a dog with a Mexican mom and a is a candy cane. Okay, now imagine doing that, what I just did, and running around a stage. You gotta kind of be anaerobic in the sound, right? Which means in the absence of oxygen, you gotta be able to not have to need a lot of oxygen when you're doing this stuff. So let me fast forward again. So. Now, one more thing. If you notice too, there's a harmonic resonance underneath the lead vocal at an octave that makes the top vocal sound a lot bigger than it really is. Listen really close. Not only is there a double track, but there's kind of a harmonic rumbling of like someone sang the octave lower and just kind of used only the reverb of it and brought it in. Now, I did that in my track too. So if you listen to my track, I sang the octave underneath to kind of give it this effect, because without it, it just sounds kind of weird. Now, listen to it really close of the rumbling underneath the bottom. Check it out.
He's the one that called.
He's the one that called.
He's the one that makes you feel alright. He's the one that called.
You hear that? He's the one that called Dr. Feelgood. So there's like a rumble of like a lower octave underneath that's kind of gluing a lot of this stuff together, which I thought was interesting.
He's gonna be your Frankenstein. I've got one thing you'll understand. Dr. Feelgood. He's not what you call a glamorous man. Dr. Feelgood. Got one thing that's easily understood. Dr. Feelgood. He's the one they call Dr. Feelgood.
Now, one other thing too is we've talked a lot about, Joe Elliott not using much vibrato, like a lot of these different artists that we were going through these vocal stems. Vince used almost no vibrato at all. Dr. Feelgood, he's the one that called Dr. Feelgood, he's the one that makes you feel alright. Right? He uses almost no vibrato, so it's very flatlined, kind of everything he does, which tends to make things sound a little monotone. So I don't think of this as like singer stuff. I think of this as like really well produced, thought out lines with really good melodic structures, harmonic melodic structures, with a great band, kick and major, but with a lot of good production and very, very catchy songs with anthemic choruses that really help out the song a lot. So let me say, I think there's a big solo coming up here. So.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want to like do all this. Cool. Now, you hear all the production in the vocals themselves. There's like 4 or 5 voices. There's harmonies. There's lower octave stuff. There's doubling in the vocals. There's a lot of effect on the lead vocals. So there's a lot that went into this production to make it what it is. So I want you guys to recognize that as you're trying to do this on your own and you're kind of down on yourself and you're saying, gosh, I don't really feel like I can do, this because it just doesn't sound like it. Well, we're hearing what it really sounded like and how much production went into it to make it sound like the song we remember. So so that you wouldn't be too discouraged to go, a lot of production went into this. And even today, in today's world of processing and auto-tune and stuff, they even do more processing than this. So don't feel so bad as we're going through this and we're trying to learn this stuff together. Be encouraged to the fact that if you can get through some of this stuff and get your single lines together, you're doing pretty good. So anyway, gang, so this is definitely, an interesting thing for me to pick apart not only the vocal parts to teach you how to do it. Now, if you want to do this with me, just really a second. Jimmy, I get right. I want you to kind of think of yourself and put that sound right in the front. Jimmy up, right? Now, believe it or not, Axl Rose kind of brings a lot of this sound into the front of his face too, but he has a lot of girth and a lot of warmth and thick fatness on the bottom that helps make his sound bigger. Even though his sound isn't a big sound, it's a lot bigger than this sound, and he uses some similar stabs in the way he sings. Think about, take me down to the paradise city where the grass is green and the girls are pretty, right? Now imagine Vince Neil doing, take me down to the paradise city where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. Right, you could almost hear, how that could be interchangeable. Now, I'm not saying Axl is Vince or Vince is Axl. That's not my point. But there's a similarity into the compression, into singing really with a lot of nasality and bring the sound into the front of the face, okay? Hope you guys like what you heard, and definitely check out my next video.